A potentially magical season enters its final quarter. And oh, there's still so much to play for, so much at stake. Tonight, Notre Dame puts its unblemished record on the line for one last time in the Bend. A playoff berth sits just 3 wins away. But that task is anything but easy. We've all learned nothing is simple in November.
Every game is very important and, could be make or break.
Now this latest make or break battle comes with extra adversity.
Ian Book has got a little stinger or something. Something doesn't feel right after that hit.
Notre Dame's QB1 is sidelined. The man who once led the Irish attack is called on to steer it again. Brandon Wimbush takes the helm, his team hosting a struggling Florida State squad as the gales of November come early.
Cold, warm, hot, sleet, snow, let's get it.
Live under the lights of Notre Dame Stadium, this is News Center 16's Countdown to Kickoff.
The Irish faithful descend on the Notre Dame campus for one final time in 2018. The bundled up masses in their blue, gold, and the color of the day, green, are here hoping to see their team finish the home slate undefeated.
And now you are looking live inside Notre Dame Stadium. Rocks House closes out its 89th campaign with a visit from Florida State. And those slumping Seminoles hope to salvage some of their season by knocking off the green-clad third-ranked Fighting Irish of Notre Dame.
Good evening and welcome to News Center 16's Countdown to Kickoff. I'm Alex Wilcox.
And I'm WHME Sports Director Chuck Freeby. We start with a story that has dominated the last 2.5 days for Irish fans. Ian Book will not play tonight against Florida State. The Irish quarterback suffered a rib injury in the game against Northwestern on that hit last week. And while Brian Bush tried to tell us at one point this week he was day-to-day, aren't we all? Bush is out. Brandon Wimbush is in. And the last time we saw Brandon Wimbush throw a pass in a meaningful game, it was in September against Vanderbilt.
It was, but people forget, Brandon Wimbush is actually the more experienced quarterback between the two. He started 12 of the 13 games last season. He's 12-3 as a starter. I think Ian Book's only started 7 games. So Brandon Wimbush has double the amount of experience as Ian Book. Yes, Ian Book goes out, but if you're Notre Dame, this is almost the perfect scenario if you're going to lose your starting quarterback to have a backup with the experience and the capability of winning big games like Brandon Wimbush has.
And of course, there are plenty of reasons for optimism on this Irish team as they go into the end of the year 9-0.
Yeah, that's right. And when you think about this team, we thought it was going to be the defense that was going to drive this season, and it has. I would say even more so than I expected. The defensive line has been flat out dominant. It seems like every game, someone else along that defensive line changes the game. Drew Tranquil and Tavon Coney in the linebacker level are playing like All-Americans, and the secondary that had so many holes a season ago now looks stout.
We've seen the development of the receiving core, and as you mentioned, this defense getting better and better every week. The one problem I see with the defense is sometimes they seem to take their foot off the gas in the fourth quarter and they let up. They don't have that sense of urgency that Brian Kelly has been calling for from his team, and quite frankly, let me have him address it.
It seems like when this team is pushed, they really play well. And so it's my job now to get them to play with that sense of urgency for 72 plays. We have our times where not that we don't play with a sense of urgency at a level that is, so far below that, but we can play better at spurts, and I think we've got to get to that through our preparation.
So if you get that addressed, is everything fixed for the Irish? No, there's still reasons for concern, and let me address the first one, and that would be special teams. Because if you're an Irish fan, you cannot deny that every week for this team, there has been a special teams failure, without fail. And the fact of the matter is, you really worry that in some night, it's going to come back to bite them.
You really do. The special teams has struggled all season long. As you said, it feels like it's only a matter of time before this unit could cost Notre Dame a game. But there are also other reasons to be concerned, even though this team is 9-0 and sitting pretty, and that's namely that the running game has not been as effective as we may have thought it have been. Dexter Williams comes in. We think that he's going to be a big spark. He is in the Stanford game. He had another big game against Navy, but this Irish running game has struggled at times. Last week against Northwestern, they struggled running the ball. The offensive line hasn't been creating those giant holes like we're kind of used to seeing from the Notre Dame offensive line.
They have been very inconsistent. Yeah. Kelly's crew now has 3 games left to ease any of this Irish angst, and that leads us to tonight's Lock Monday Auto Group Irish fan poll at WNDU.com.
We want to know what remaining Irish opponent has you most concerned. 12% of you say it's tonight's foe, Florida State. 57%, and who would have thought this before the season, say it's Syracuse next week. And 31% of you are going with the finale at arch rival USC. There's still time to vote in the Lock Monday Auto Group Irish fan poll on WNDU.com. We'll have the final results for you in about 45 minutes on the countdown.
And the countdown is headed on the road to that matchup next week that has a lot of you concerned. We will be in the big ballpark in the Bronx to get you ready for the Shamrock Series Showdown with Syracuse. That's at 2 p.m. next Saturday.
Now to another big storyline this evening. It is cold, midwinter cold here in the stadium.
Our Storm Team 16 meteorologist Cindy Clausen joins us now on the countdown. Cindy, I like chili in a bowl, not outside. How chilly will it get tonight throughout the game?
I am right there with you. Now I want chili for dinner, but it is going to be a cold game as we see temperatures only in the 20s. Let's take a look right now over the Notre Dame campus. Wave for us. Maybe we can see you on the Skyview camera. 27 degrees right now, and we are seeing winds out of the south at 3 miles per hour. Now, the good thing is that with those winds only at 3 miles per hour, the wind chills aren't too bad. But you can see temperatures all around the area are in the mid to upper 20s to right around 30 degrees. And because the winds aren't too bad, the wind chill temperatures aren't much different right now. Now, we have been seeing some clouds building back in again. I think we got a little bit of just anomalous feedback on the radar there, but the clouds will be building in tonight as we head through the night. So if you are heading to the game, layer up. That is the name of the game because it is going to be very cold with those temperatures basically in the low to mid 20s. So it is going to be a very, very cold game for all of the fans out there, the players, and even for folks like Chuck and Alex. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Cindy. I remember 2 really cold games here at the stadium. BYU in 2013, it was 26 at kickoff. Navy in 91, it was 24 at kickoff. It was brutal. Tonight, for the first time in 11 years, the Irish will wear green here at home. The players asked to wear these Emerald Duds on senior night, and Brian Kelly said yes.
The announcement was first teased on social media with a Rudy parody starring some players and Kelly. Then Notre Dame confirmed the plan to wear the green jerseys with blue numbers outlined in gold. Now, some of us noticed replicas of the jerseys on sale in the bookstore earlier this week, as fans can pick up their own green version for $95 a pop.
And if you can't tell, I'm not thrilled about it, and I think it's also a fashion faux pas. We're just getting warmed up, but that's a pun on this evening's edition of the Countdown.
Up next, we return to the story of the night. Ian Book out, Brandon Wimbush in. We'll take a closer look at the play Book got hurt on and what Brian Kelly and the Irish are saying about number 7.
And here is your first Subway trivia test of the evening. When was Florida State's first trip to Notre Dame Stadium, and what was the result? The answer when the countdown rolls back in 2 minutes.
Here's today's Subway Eat Fresh trivia answer.
Florida State's first ever visit to Notre Dame Stadium came October 10th, 1981. Bobby Bowden's Seminoles beat first-year coach Jerry Faust Irish 19-13 that afternoon. If you didn't have that answer, you're forgiven. It is far from one of the most memorable games ever played here in the stadium. Of course, FSU's second visit 12 years later, well, that was, and we'll relive that game of the century coming up on the Countdown.
But for now, much more on the Irish quarterback situation.
Let's head down the field to Mark Skol Jr. And Mark, you've got a closer look at the play that put Ian Book out tonight.
Thank you, Alex. Irish quarterback Ian Book has been special this season, no doubt, and has led the Irish offense to new heights, but Book ran into some trouble last week against Northwestern. Here is the play when Book suffered the injury. Early first quarter, Book scrambles out of the pocket on third down and takes a knee to the chest from a Wildcat defender. And as you can tell, he is in obvious pain as he winces as he walks back to the huddle. Despite the pain Book was showing at that moment, he played the rest of the game, throwing for 2 touchdowns and running in another. He said after the game, the hit took no toll on his body.
I don't even know where. It just kind of knocked the wind out of me, but I'm feeling fine.
However, Book is not fine. Brian Kelly confirmed to the student newspaper here on campus, The Observer, that Book is out tonight against Florida State with what Kelly is calling a rib injury. Kelly tells The Observer that Book, he wants to take things slow with him so this rib injury doesn't cause any damage to his kidneys, which would keep him out even longer. So enter a familiar name. Remember Brandon Wimbush, the quarterback that has a 12-3 record as a starter for Notre Dame? Kelly benched him in favor of Book after the Vanderbilt game this season, after Wimbush only accounted for 2 touchdowns in the first 3 games of this season. Still, Kelly says he has the utmost confidence in Wimbush as the Irish single caller and asks him to be ready to play.
He's gotten plenty of time to think about not being the starter and what he needs to do, as the question was asked, and he's worked really hard on the things that he wants to be better at. He's an incredible competitor. If he's given the opportunity, he wants to stay the starter. So he's going to look back on all the things that he's done, and if he's given the opportunity, he'll play really well.
I think he's handled it very well. Brandon's a great guy on and off the field. And he's a competitor. He's a great athlete, great quarterback. I mean, you win as many games and win in the fashion that he's done at Notre Dame. He's a great player, and he's a great young man, and he'll be nothing but successful in whatever he does in life.
Right now, the Irish hope Wimbush is successful tonight. However, Kelly did say that he wouldn't rule out playing true freshman quarterback Phil Jurkovec. Jurkovec got plenty of reps in practice this week, and Kelly says he is confident in him leading the offense. So whether it's Wimbush, whether it's Jurkovec, Kelly is confident in this team. Chuck and Alex, back to you.
All right, Mark, thanks a lot. We are just about a quarter of the way through the countdown. Up next, we head outside to the very chilly tailgating lots to check the mood of the Irish nation.
Then it's the Irish Illustrated Report. Tim O'Malley lets us know if he thinks Notre Dame has what it takes to finish strong and head to the playoff.
And you can subscribe to Irish Illustrated, the #1 source for Notre Dame sports online. Just head to irishillustrated.com and click on Join to find the best plan for you.
Back on the countdown as we check on the mood on campus. Irish fans gathering in South Bend for the final time this year.
Jen Cardona spent the last few hours with fans and has now come inside the stadium. So Jen, what are the fans telling you?
Well, they're telling me that they're cold, but they're also staying positive that this cold is going to help bring a win over the Seminoles because they're just not used to playing in this kind of weather. So now while I was hanging out with the tailgaters a little bit ago, there were different things that I saw, different ways they were trying to stay warm. Some guys, yeah, you could tell they aren't quite feeling this weather, but others are definitely very layered up. Now, those propane heaters are always a plus, and people were gathered all around them to heat up today. But then again, sometimes all of that plus the multiple layers just isn't enough.
I have about 6 layers on, and it's not working, so I don't know what I'm going to do. It's about a 50-degree difference from Tallahassee and here.
Just keep moving. I mean, once you sit still, you're done for. So you gotta keep moving, keep drinking, and just embrace it.
I was saying a few weeks back I was here tailgating in a short sleeve polo and pants, and yeah, this is different. But honestly, going up against Florida State, some guys coming from down south up here. I'm hoping these conditions are in our favor eventually.
And just like that last man said, these kinds of conditions, he's really confident it's going to help bring the Irish to their 10th straight win. I'll send it back to you, Alex, on the field.
All right, Jen, thanks so much. Now to the Irish Illustrated Report, and Tim O'Malley joins us on the countdown. All right, Tim, we'll start with the question that everyone has. How much does the switch from Ian Book to Brandon Wimbush affect the team today?
I mean, I think it could really affect them if it's more than one game, 1 or 2 games. There's going to be some effect of the passing game because Ian Book is the most accurate passer in the country in the 6 games he's played. I expect Notre Dame to pare down that passing a little bit, kind of go with the Michigan game plan where Brandon Wimbush was kind of able to beat them with his legs, take some deep shots down the field, and that should be enough tonight against Florida State. Now, Florida State's got a really good defensive line, so they are going to have to be able to mix in the run because I don't think Wimbush can just out-athlete these guys.
Are there some things that Brandon Wimbush can do that Ian Book doesn't do as well that help the Irish?
Well, I mean, I think they'll run him 15 to 20 times because you got to remember they were looking to preserve him over the long haul of 12 games. Now they're preserving him for 1 or 2 games, really. If worst case scenario, 3. I think you treat him as a running back in running situations when you need to. He can beat a team that does not respect his passing game by threatening him with the run and then hitting him with the pass, and I think that's what they're going to turn to tonight.
This FSU team just 4-5, having a season to forget. Why aren't they any good?
You know, it's strange because I have a lot of friends that went to Florida State, so for 20 years, whether I wanted it or not, I got Florida State news. Basically, it turns out that when Coach Willie Taggart came in, he didn't do the full cleaning house a lot of coaches do. He thought he might be able to win with all the talent he has there. Yeah. They kind of think that they're going to be better next year by getting rid of a little bit of what, I guess, bad apples is what you're going to say. He left a lot of talent there. They think he should have cleaned house, and that might come this offseason, actually.
The question I really want to ask you is, can Irish Illustrated afford to buy you a coat? But let me say this one, does Notre Dame have what it takes to finish the ride?
I think so. I was thinking of shirt sleeves at one point, but I'm going to stick with this. Yeah, you know, I would have predicted that they would win out grudgingly. 3-0. It's tough to do. If you look at USC and Syracuse next week, that's a top 12 Syracuse team probably. I do think Brandon Wimbush will get past Florida State tonight, and then I think it could be a harder game. They're going to need more points to win next week than they will this week.
So final score tonight?
Tonight I'm in that 28-13 range, just a little bit of a nod to less offense without Book, and you know, the elements too. It's not going to be easy to play in these elements right now.
Well, remember, folks, you can subscribe to Irish Illustrated. It is the #1 source for Notre Dame sports online. Just head to irishillustrated.com, click on Join to find the best plan for you because Tim really needs a coach.
Up next, it's Quick Hits on the countdown. I'll take a look at one of the biggest Irish weaknesses, their struggling special teams.
Plus, what is wrong with Florida State? I don't know that we have that much time left in the show. How the Noles have ended up at 4-5 when the countdown returns in 2 minutes. We are back on the countdown with some quick hits to get you ready for tonight's matchup.
Lindsay Stone and Skol Jr. join us. Lindsay, we'll start with you. And the guy whose health Irish fans were most concerned about, well, that is until Ian Book got injured.
That's exactly right. Drew Tranquill is perhaps Notre Dame's most popular linebacker, but it has been a battle all season long to be on the field after an injury to his hand, his wrist even, and even his ankle. But it hasn't stopped Tranquill from playing. And last Saturday's game against Northwestern, Tranquill had 5 tackles. Earlier this week, Tranquill said it's good to be home at Notre Dame Stadium today, where he's fortunate to still be able to take the field.
And I heard it pop and everything. I thought I broke my ankle. And so to go from like that low to knowing that, you know, I would be able to come back and help the team was pretty euphoric. You know, working through it day by day and getting better and staying in the training room. And so it's just a day-to-day thing, and we're getting better definitely each day.
And earlier this week, Tranquill was asked if he'd have surgery after the season was over, and he gave a very confident no. He's still playing with pain, there's no doubt about it, but he said his biggest priority is not further injuring himself. He said his team of doctors and himself are listening to his body, and he said he's taking the field today because they are 100% confident in his abilities. And now, Alex, I will send it back to you for a look at the Fighting Irish special teams.
Lindsay, those special teams have been anything but, as the unit has plagued the Irish all season. Just last week, Tyler Newsome had a punt blocked, setting up a Northwestern touchdown that made it a 3-point game. Justin Yoon missed a field goal, and Jonathan Dorer sent one of his kickoffs out of bounds. The kickoff team has been an issue all season long, and that's led Brian Kelly to consider making a change.
So I think we can, long story short here, is that I think we can activate Justin, if we need him to, put a kick or two out of the back of the end zone. Because we're now at that part of the year where teams have made the decision that it's probably not worth the risk to start a possession on the 11-yard line with a holding penalty.
Now, it hasn't been all bad news for the unit. Justin Yoon is just 6 field goals away from breaking the Notre Dame record for career field goals. Now, with a look at an Irish receiver who shined last week, let's send it down the sideline once again to Mark Skol Jr. Mark.
Thank you, Alex. Irish wide receiver Chase Claypool had the best game of his season last Saturday against Northwestern. The wideout hauled in a season-high 130 receiving yards on 8 receptions. Claypool's breakout performance even earned him the game ball from Coach Kelly. While he never found the end zone, Claypool definitely played a big role in Notre Dame's win over Northwestern last weekend, and he says he always hopes to create a positive impact on offense.
I didn't know it was going to be this many opportunities to make those plays, but I mean, going into the game, you always want to feel like you're going to play a big role in the game.
Chase balled. I mean, we were waiting for him to have a breakout game like that, and it came at the right time. And he's definitely got some more in him.
It's great to see him have that kind of success, and it's showing itself in his maturity and the way he practices.
Claypool might get some more opportunities tonight to showcase his skills. Florida State's defense ranks 120th out of 129 teams in college football in passing yards. For more on the Seminoles' struggles, I'll send it to Chuck.
Mark, that pass defense is just one of many problems that has Florida State staring down what could be its worst season in decades. They are 129th in third down conversions. The good news is there's only 129 teams. 128th in penalties, 127th in rushing offense, 125th in fumbles lost. You get the picture. This team, and especially its offensive line, is not what you expect out of one wearing garnet and gold, and their head coach knows it.
Well, all of them are frustrated. We all are, we all want to do well. We all want to correct what's going on, and you got to trust your training, and I know a lot of guys that try to do too much, and that hurts us more than anything, and I think that's when you get some of those penalties, and you get guys not missing assignments because they're not focused on they're not focused on their job, their assignment, and what they're doing. They're focused on just trying to do more for the football team to try to help. And again, you like that attitude, but you got to channel that in the right direction.
So it's clear this year's Florida State squad is a far cry from some of the past FSU teams that we've seen visit this stadium.
And of course, none are remembered more than the squad that came here in 1993. I'll look back at that 1 versus 2 matchup, still fresh on so many of our minds. The game of the century, a quarter of a century later, in 2 minutes on the countdown. First-year head coach Willie Taggart and his Florida State Seminoles have arrived at Notre Dame Stadium. FSU returns to the house that Rockne built for the first time in 15 years, and they have designs on stunning the college football world and grabbing his signature win.
Of course, Brian and the boys intend to quickly tear right through that plan. They continue to get closer and closer to the promised land, and they know they must make quick work of the Noles tonight to continue their playoff dreams. Back inside the countdown with WHME Sports Director Chuck Freeby, I'm Alex Wilcox. Ian Book's injury isn't the first time Notre Dame has had a quarterback situation before a big game.
Not at all. Coley O'Brien started for the injured Terry Hanratty in 1966. He threw for 265 yards. The Irish beat USC 51-0. And Alex, I remember Lou Holtz being distraught when Ron Paulus broke his collarbone in the final scrimmage before the 1993 season.
And that season worked out pretty well for the Irish, at least that's what old-timers like you have told me.
Easy there, pal. Some of us were here and lived it, and nearly 25 years to the date, it's easy to remember. Florida State came in ranked number 1, Notre Dame was ranked number 2, and many called it another edition of the game of the century.
With a 2-week build-up to the game, there was an incredible atmosphere around campus. A raucous Friday night pep rally set the stage for fans from as far away as Alaska.
We're staying at some boondock, Kokomo in Kokomo,
Indiana.
Kokomo, and $425 for 2 tickets.
All parts of campus were brimming with excitement.
And if there was ever any question about this being one of the biggest games in Notre Dame history, you only had to look at the line outside the Notre Dame bookstore.
Face value tickets were $27, but in the old 59,000-seat stadium, well, that wasn't happening.
We have gotten a lot of calls from the People magazine types who think because of their fame they can get tickets. And unfortunately, there just aren't tickets to be had.
The ones who got in saw a game worthy of the hype. Notre Dame ran wild that day. Jeff Burris was an All-American as a defensive back that year, but he scored 2 touchdowns, including this one with 6:53 left.
Here's Fela, hands it off to Burris. Burris under the 10, 5, touchdown! Jeff Burris!
But that 31-17 lead was precarious thanks to Florida State quarterback Charlie Ward. The future NBA player threw a pass off Brian McGee and into the hands of Kes McCorvey for a touchdown on 4th and 22. Then Ward led Bobby Bowden's team to the Irish 14 with 3 seconds left. Tony Roberts has the call.
Last play of the game. This is it. Ward flushed out of the pocket. Throwing in the end zone. Knocked down by Wooden. The game is over. The Irish is upset. Florida State. Notre Dame wins. Pandemonium on the field. 31-24. Notre Dame is number 1.
The victory over a Florida State team billed as the best in college football in 30 years electrified Notre Dame Stadium. Sadly, the number 1 ranking would not last long. Boston College upset the Irish the following week, 41-39. Notre Dame would finish the year number 2. Florida State finished number 1.
Yes, I know. Some of us still wonder how that happened. And you can also argue that November Saturday, 25 years ago, was the last time a game of that magnitude was played here. The closest might be the Bush Push game against USC in 2005. Tonight, not even close. But November 13th, 1993, that's a game those of us who were here will never forget. Another person who was here that night, the legendary Muffet McGraw, the Hall of Famer and the coach of the national champions, joins us again on the countdown. I'm sure when you hear about Ian Book being hurt, you say, only one?
I know, it's been amazing. We had 3 girls out yesterday. We still had 8, so we're in good shape this year.
As you mentioned, you kicked off the season last night. Bring back a healthy Breonna Turner. You dominate Harvard. Just how are you feeling about your team? Obviously very early, but 1 game into the season.
You know, we have some work to do, but I'm really pleased with what I'm seeing right now. It is great to have Breonna Turner back. What a great shot blocker, defensive presence. She can score, she can run the floor. So many great things. And then, of course, you have our freshmen that are really starting to look good, but Arike Ogunbowale, I mean, starts the year off with 30 points. On 10 of 20 shooting, so she's really been efficient. Jessica Shepard at 28. We're really a powerful offensive team.
Monday night, you play Penn. I'm sure it will be somewhat emotional as you raise that championship banner. When you look at that up in the rafters, what will be your first thought?
Well, I'm glad that the first one got some company. You know, it's been a long time, and what an amazing finish to last year when we think about that, but we've really got to put it behind us. We've got to move on. We're going to lower the banner, raise the banner, however you want to look at it, and now we got to focus on this year.
Now Brian Kelly and these guys right behind us, they're looking to make a national championship push of their own. Any advice for him?
Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to see Wimbush back. You know, he won that big game against Michigan. I think he's ready.
Everybody who sits in that chair has to make a game prediction, so it's your turn.
Oh, well, Irish by 10.
Irish by 10. You heard it from the coach of the national champions herself. Up next on the countdown, as Muffet mentioned, it's senior night for the Irish. Some of the stars of this year's class look back at their years in the shadow of the Golden Dome.
And here's another Subway trivia test. We already asked about the first ever FSU-ND matchup here at the stadium. So when was Notre Dame's first trip down to Tallahassee, and what was the result? The answer when the countdown returns in 2 minutes.
Here's today's Subway Eat Fresh trivia answer.
Notre Dame and Florida State had already met 4 times before the Irish made their first ever trip to Tallahassee in October of 2002. And it was a great day for Notre Dame as Tyrone Willingham's Irish dominated Bobby Bowden's Noles. Notre Dame won 34-24 to improve to 8-0 on the season.
And we will try to ignore what happened when those undefeated Irish then wore green here the following week. Let's turn now to the men playing their final game inside Notre Dame Stadium tonight.
The Countdown's Lindsay Stone rejoins us with what some of the seniors are saying as they take their South Bend curtain call. Lindsay?
Notre Dame versus Florida State, one final home game of the season. It's an emotional day, one last tap on the Play Like a Champion sign, and one last run through the tunnel to 80,000 cheering fans.
Here come the Irish!
All this time is culminating, and it's going to be a special moment.
Senior night, the home finale of a so far perfect season for the Fighting Irish.
Yeah, it'll be cool to go out there at midfield and see my parents, and just know it's the last home game of the season.
Emotions are high for more than just the players.
I really don't think it's going to hit me until after the game. I mean, I know my mom is going to be crying and emotional, but I can't take those emotions into the game.
It'll be a special night for my family members and myself, to celebrate, my career at Notre Dame, as far as playing in Notre Dame Stadium coming to a close.
A night to reflect on 4 or 5 special years and all that Notre Dame means to the men who represent her.
The first time running out, there's nothing quite like that. Your first kickoff, it's incredible. So, there's a ton of great memories I have in this stadium. Obviously, the USC game last year and things like that, but nothing tops your first time running out of the tunnel.
It's crazy to think, it's the last time I'll be running out there in a gold helmet, but I'm just thankful for every experience I've had in there and, grateful for that I have another opportunity on Saturday.
An opportunity to think about the legacy you'll leave behind.
It's not over yet, but there's definitely some things I still want to accomplish. Obviously, making it to the playoffs, win a national championship. But among those, just being known as, somebody who left their heart out every time they played, every time they stepped on the field, and just leaving a legacy that, that other receivers can look up to when they come here.
Still, the Irish know they need to see through the emotion.
I'm not really in a contemplative, reflective mode. I'm more of a head down right now, trying to finish the job.
It's always a big deal to go undefeated at home. You've got your family there, all your friends there, the students there, and it's always fun to make them proud and to protect your house and just know that nobody can come in there and take that away from you.
The seniors will be honored before the game at midfield in a little over 10 minutes. It is an amazing moment for those players, their families, and every single person who has poured into each of them. It's an emotional day, no doubt, but one the players say they refuse to acknowledge until the final whistle blows. Guys.
All right, thanks very much, Lindsay. We are almost to the 4th quarter of the countdown, and there's plenty more to bring you tonight.
Up next, it's Sports Beat on the Countdown with Darren Pritchett. We'll talk about the legacy senior captain Drew Tranquil leaves as he plays his last game on campus. Plus, Darren's thoughts on the Irish quarterbacks when the countdown comes back in 2 minutes.
We are back with Sports Beat on the Countdown, the affable host of Weekday and Game Day Sports Beat. At least that's what's said on the script. Darren Pritchett joins us now. What were your first thoughts when you heard Ian Book was out tonight?
I was really happy that we have a veteran, experienced quarterback ready to go. I'm still a believer in Brandon Wimbush. Can he run the offense as well from a passing game perspective? Obviously not. But he is a quality quarterback that can win games down the stretch for this football team.
One thing that's plagued the Irish all season has been their special teams play. Does that end up haunting them sometime this season, or are we just making too big of a deal about this?
It may not hurt them tonight, may not hurt them against Syracuse, but if you're looking big picture for the playoff, you think about the quality teams they may face.
Yeah.
You want to win in special teams. You want to be able to maybe make a difference in the game on special teams, and there always just seems to be that one play that haunts Notre Dame, so obviously it is a concern.
It is senior night, and obviously a lot of those guys are going to come through the tunnel here in a little bit. But what kind of legacy does a guy like Drew Tranquil leave behind?
Boy, I would say team over body.
He's all about winning. He has had serious injuries, always comes back. He's changed positions, doesn't care. He's continued to make himself a better football player, and the high ankle sprain to play like he did last week, remarkable, and you know he's going to have a big night tonight.
Now, in the past, Notre Dame has had problems come this time of year, come November. Last week, Brian Kelly said that this year isn't last year's team. Are you buying that, or are you worried?
It is a different team because I believe this is a championship-level defense. Now, can the offense play well enough? Can they run the ball enough? Can special teams do their part? We'll have to see, but this is a great defense. Defense travels, and that's why I think this could be a different November for this football team.
Score tonight?
Well, I went 23-7 in favor of the guys in the green jerseys.
Wow. Just 7 for Florida State.
He likes that defense.
I'm telling you, the defense, Drew Tranquil, he's going to play all 11 positions tonight. He'll just dominate them. That's for sure.
All right, thanks, DP. Great to have you with us. Up next, there is so much left to play for over the next 3 games for the Fighting Irish.
I'll take a closer look at all that's on the line tonight and the rest of the season when the countdown returns in 2 minutes.
For Brian Kelly and the Fighting Irish.
9 games, 9 wins. Number 3 in the country with 3 games to go. At Notre Dame, the mission has always been the same.
Graduate all of our players and play for a national championship.
And as we get deeper into November, those goals are well within reach. The days are getting shorter, but the dreams only growing.
At this point, everyone's kind of got that in their mind. We're on the road to trying to accomplish what we've set out to accomplish since January and going through the whole offseason.
There are more immediate goals at hand, though. Tonight, the Irish look to complete an undefeated home slate for the first time in 3 years. The senior class that will run onto the field for the final time was just freshmen when that last happened, and the whole team would love nothing more than to send out their seniors with a win.
One of them internally that we had was to protect this stadium, and finishing that off against Florida State is certainly very important to us.
And tonight, there's even more on the line. A win over the Noles would give Notre Dame 10 wins for the 2nd straight year, the first time that's happened since 92-93. Last season, it took the Irish till New Year's Day to reach that mark. This year, they're going for it in the middle of November.
So, we're building. I think that, Coach Kelly's done some great things the last 3 or 4 years, and 3 of my 4 years we've had tendencies. So, it's just, I think that we're definitely trending in the right direction. We're going where we want to be.
It'd be incredible. It'd be a testament to all the hard work we've put in, all the stuff that Coach Kelly and his staff have put us in a position to be successful, and it would mean the world to us.
So, what's there to play for tonight?
Championship teams make statements in November.
Just a shot at a title and a whole lot of history.
Back on the countdown, the band is just getting ready to leave the field. We await the Irish Senior Night celebration. Notre Dame's 32 seniors will be greeted by their parents in the middle of the field.
It's the last hurrah for some household names like Tranquil and Mustafer, but also a very special evening for Walk-On Nation and some of the other role players who've spent the last 4 or 5 years strapping on a gold helmet.
Now let's take a look at the final results of this week's Lock Monday Auto Group Irish fan poll on WNDU.com.
We asked you, what remaining Irish opponent has you most concerned? 12% say it's tonight's visitors, Florida State. A majority of you, 57%, say the surprising 8-2 Syracuse Orange, and 31% of you have the big rivalry matchup with USC circled. Thank you for voting in the Lock Monday Auto Group Irish fan poll on WNDU.com.
And a reminder, the countdown is headed to the Shamrock Series next week for that game with Syracuse at Yankee Stadium. So please do join us, 2 p.m. Saturday on WNDU. Well, now Mark rejoins us here on the set for our 4 Winds Casino. What to watch for? Gentlemen, let's start with our Irish keys to the game. Mr. Wilcox, you have first serve.
My key to the game, get Brandon Wimbush going early. This is his first game action since the Vanderbilt game all the way back in September. Getting him going early will not only give a huge confidence boost to Wimbush and the entire Irish offense, but if you score early in this one, I think you take Florida State out of it.
Mark, my key to the game, I don't know if this is just for me or for both teams, is surviving the cold. It's freezing out here, let me tell you. So I think the key to the game is just survive the cold, stay warm out here.
Keys are not supposed to be about you. They're supposed to be about the game. And about the game, we got to talk about ball security, because the only way Florida State wins this football game is if Notre Dame hands it to them. Now, Brandon Wimbush in his last start had 4 interceptions, so ball security has to be a concern. X factors, Mr. Wilcox.
I'm going with Julian Okwara. We talked about how dominant the defensive line has been all season for Notre Dame. Julian Okwara has racked up a ton of QB pressures this season, but hasn't gotten a whole lot of sacks. Chuck, you mentioned how terrible this Florida State offensive line is. Okwara should have a field day and get those sack numbers back up where they should be.
My X factor is running back Dexter Williams. Brandon Wimbush is making the start tonight. He has not played with Dexter Williams this season. I think he's going to be a big impact tonight for the Irish offense.
You know who Dexter Williams hasn't played with this season? Brandon Wimbush, and he's got to be the X factor in this game, because nobody really knows how well or how poorly he's going to play, and that's the biggest factor in the football game is your quarterback. Okay, prediction time, Alex.
In Brandon Wimbush's 3 starts this season, 24 points, 24 points, 22 points. I'm keeping with what the stats have showed me. Notre Dame on top, 24-10.
Great minds think alike. I don't think the Irish offense is going to do that well with Wimbush under center. I say 21-10, Irish still get the win.
This thing is sponsored by a casino. The spread is 16.5. I'm taking the Irish to cover the spread. 31-14 Notre Dame. And don't forget, folks, we've got a lot to come on this edition of Notre Dame football. But first, we've got to turn it over to the good folks at NBC, because Mike Tirico and Doug Flutie have the coverage of the Irish and the Seminoles coming up. Don't forget, after the game, Alex and I will try to thaw out a little bit and come right back here after the game with all your post-game highlights and analysis of what we hope will be Notre Dame's 10th victory of the year on News Center 16. Thanks for joining us once again on another edition of Countdown to Kickoff.